In a new feature for 2018, our team of experts assess each driver after every Grand Prix and score them according to their performance across the weekend. Taking machinery out of the equation, our experts' scores are then combined to produce an ongoing overall ranking which reflects driver form. Taking only the 3 most recent races into account, this week's top 10 crash in the opening race weekend of the season could have destabilized Valtteri Bottas. But the Finn has since proved unflappable. Second in 3 of the last 4 races, with a victory cruelly taken from him in the other is champion-esque form, and gives him an unbeatable 3-race performance score in our index. In Spain, he missed out on pole to teammate Lewis Hamilton by just 0.040s. Come race day, he was slipstreamed by Sebastian Vettel, which dropped him to 3rd. But from there, he drove faultlessly, managing his tires brilliantly to make a one-stop possible and thus allow him to snatch 2nd back. Keep performing like this and not only will Bottas hold on to the number 1 slot in our rankings, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff will surely snap him up for another year at the Silver Arrows. He may not have a car capable of winning a Grand Prix just yet, but Alonso is definitely making the most of what he's got. Having made Q3 for the first time this season, the McLaren driver had a messy start, dropping 3 places to 11th amid the first lap chaos. But he clawed his way back through the field, pulling off a spectacular overtake on Esteban Ocon around the outside of Turn 3, to finish 8th. To have scored 4 times the number of points as his teammate Stoffel Vandoorne shows just how much he's achieved. It wasn't his best drive of the season, but it wasn't far off, and his consistency is enough to move him to within touching distance of our summit. Hamilton lucked into victory in Baku, and he wasn't afraid to admit it. But there was no luck required in Spain as he showed a level of domination we've not seen since last year, and in the process raised his 3-race score sufficiently to vault up our power rankings chart. His pole lap was solid, but it was his performance in the race that really impressed. Once clear away at the start, the result never really looked in doubt. Hamilton said he had found the synergy between himself and the car for the first time this season. And it was quite the response given the season he's had so far. A 17-point lead, having only truly dominated one weekend, is a mighty fine position to be in. His rivals should be worried. After looking like he'd clicked with F1 in Baku, the much-heralded Sauber driver scored a 2nd successive points finish in Spain, thanks to another top performance in which he had a pace advantage over teammate Marcus Ericsson all weekend, even making it into Q2. That was enough to lift the 20-year-old into this week's ranking. Another top result on home soil in Monaco, and he has a shot at the top spot, such as his current 3-race score. The German slumps down our rankings after another disappointing weekend, though in truth his drop has more to do with the inspired performances of others than any major lapse in form. In Spain, Vettel simply couldn't get tires to work for him, though how much of that was down to him and how much was down to the car is open to debate. Either way, he was off the podium for the 3rd race in a row. As with Leclerc, things really seem to be clicking for Sainz now, who has 3 straight points finishes and vaults up our ranking in the process. For the 4th year in a row, he bagged himself a top 10 finish at home, passing Alonso in the process. The only knock on the Spaniard was his inability to make easier work of Ericsson, though the Swede deserves credit in that regard. Perez cracked our top 10 for the first time following his brilliant podium in Baku, and maintains the same slot in the index after another solid points finish in Spain. Tire struggles in quali meant his was heavily outqualified by teammate Ocon, and he benefited from the Frenchman going out in the race. But the Mexican managed his rubber excellently in the race, as well as making a couple of meaningful passes. If you consider our three-race scoring system to mark the beginning, middle and end of a period of form, then Ricciardo is clinging onto a position in this ranking almost entirely because of his win in China. In Spain, the Australian was outqualified by teammate Verstappen and suffered a silly spin under the virtual safety car which cost him a shot at Vettel. However, he did set a scintillating fastest lap, showing what could have been. Like Vettel, Raikkonen suffered with tire issues, though the Finn reckoned he could have made a one-stopper work had his car not given out. Would that have put him ahead of Vettel on the road? Quite possibly. Would it have prevented a slide of 3 places in our rankings? Perhaps, though the Iceman didn't look quite as on top of things in Spain as in recent weeks. Let's not mince our words, this year's Williams is not an easy car to drive, as evidenced by Stroll's multiple trips off the road in practice and his giving it everything crash in qualifying. But the Canadian cracks the top 10 for the first time this week after following up his points in Baku with a dogged performance in Barcelona in which he came close to the points once more.